Hi, it's Maggie the Irish Gypsy here to bring you your May 2018 general readings. Thank you so much for joining us here today, and welcome to any new watchers or subscribers who may be with us for the first time. Thank you as always for all of your likes, shares, subscribes, and your support, feedback, and comments. Always welcome. And also always a big thank you to all of my clients out there, both regular and new clients, for keeping me so busy and fulfilled with personal one-on-one readings. If any of you out there are interested in a personal one-on-one reading with me and you haven't read with me before, or you've forgotten the information, you can get the information and my contact details by going to my YouTube channel's homepage and clicking on the About button. Or that information is also attached to the description bar of all the videos I post. I do a wide variety of readings in love and romance, compatibility charting and reconciliation possibilities for couples, career, work, and finance readings, channeled messages from passed on loved ones, and I also do 6 and 12-month life overviews, which take a look at what's coming in your life over the next 6 or 12 months and all the main areas of your life, depending on how far ahead you want to look. So if you're interested, send me an email and we'll go from there. My contact information again is with all of that info. Turnaround time for personal readings is pretty fast. I do readings full-time, 5 to 6 days a week. It is what I do. So I can almost always get back to you with some initial information within the first day or the first 24 hours. And scheduling can be anywhere from a few days upwards of a couple of weeks, but almost always within a 2-week period of time. We can set up a reading for you live or recorded. So if you're interested, contact me and I would be delighted to work with you. For fast answers to quick, simple questions, you can also find me on the smartphone app Instantgo under Irish Gypsy. That link is also with my contact details. All right, let's get right into this. This reading is for the air sign of Gemini for the month of May 2018. Our twins, Gemini. Let's see what the lovely spring month of May, well, spring for us here on this continent, has in store for Geminis. Make sure to watch your rising and your moon sign videos as well if you know them and if you can. Sometimes your primary sun sign video doesn't resonate as predictively for you, but one of the other two may. And even if it does, watching your rising, watching all 3 of your videos can just give you additional insight and clarification. Because there's so many of you watching, it's not going to resonate the same for everybody watching. All right, Gemini, let's take a look and see what's in store for you for May 2018. Okay. We begin with the 10 of Cups, followed by the 5 of Wands. We have the 4 of Swords, followed by the 8 of Wands in reverse. We have the Hanging Man, followed by the High Priestess, and the 6 of Swords, followed by the 10 of Wands. And from the bottom of the deck, your overall energy and guidance for the month of May 2018 is the Major Arcana card of Strength. Let's just take a look here, Gemini. Let's see, you have 1, 2, 3 Major Arcana cards. I always like to look at the elemental energy. You have 2 Swords, 2 Wands, 3 Wands, and 1 Cup. So, okay. So Gemini, it looks like a lot of you may be having some kind of conflict, stress, argumentative energy within your home, your family system. It could be your immediate family, like, you know, who you live with, partner, spouse, you know, boyfriend, girlfriend, or children. It could be extended family as well, because we begin the month, and I am recording these in the last week of April. We begin the month, time being somewhat fluid, with the 10 of Cups and the 5 of Wands. I am using the Gilded Tarot by artist Cyril Marchetti, and because it's the beginning of the month videos, it's 2 cards per week with an additional 9th card from the bottom of the deck. So the Ten of Cups is typically the happy home card, the happily ever after card. It's sometimes nicknamed. It's cups, which is water energy, which usually deals with or manifests in the area of our life that deals with feelings, emotions, and relationships. Tens represent the ends of cycles or something coming to a culmination point. This card definitely represents that. You can see this beautiful rainbow of goblets, upright, full, kind of representing being at the place in life, particularly in relation to home and family, where things just feel like they've come together in a really beautiful way. You really couldn't ask for too much more. It can represent, you know, a happy home, marriage, family, children, blessings in regards to home and family. Kind of God's in his heaven, all's right with the world sort of energy. Now, clarified by it is the Five of Wands, which is a card of conflict, argumentative, sometimes gossip, rumor mongering. The fact that it's, so I feel like there is some kind of conflict. It's probably an ongoing conflict is what I feel. Maybe, you know, the same argument coming up over and over again, or just a lot of, petty squabbling or disagreements. The fact that it's clarified by the Ten of Cups in the upright instead of the Ten of Cups being reversed, I feel like for at least some of you, with the Ten of Cups being in the upright implies that the basis foundation of your home life is pretty decent, is pretty good, that you have a pretty good relationship with those that you live with or with your extended family as well. But there's something coming up, it looks like the end of April going into May, that is the source of some conflict. The Five of Wands implies conflict that can be more of a petty nature, because you can see the men in this, the people in this circle are sparring. They're using practice weapons. They're not using real weapons. They're not out to kill each other, out for blood. But it can represent circular conflict, meaning the same argument, the same stuff over and over again. Nobody winning, nobody losing, but no clear resolution either. So it looks like it could be, again, for those of you for whom this resonates, some of you I feel like it's extended family, and some of you I'm getting, you may have family visiting you, or there may be issues between parents and adult children. It may be that you've had family visiting you, or that you in fact may be visiting family members as well. There's some kind of, it feels like a rooted family argument or conflict of some kind. I'm also getting that for some of you, somebody in your home may be getting married, like if you have adult children, or, it could be a relative, and there's some kind of conflict around it, which is interesting. It's probably pretty specific for a person or a handful of people out there. So just kind of like the squabbling, it can also be competition as well. With the Five of Wands is also a card of competitive energy, competing against each other. So while it doesn't feel all that comfortable, it's not huge fighting and squabbling either. And also for some of you, this could be disagreements or arguments or conflict around the home or property itself. It could be because tens represent the ends of cycles. Sometimes the Ten of Cups can represent something like, the last child leaving the nest to get married or go to college. Sometimes it can represent a culmination in the home itself, the property, maybe getting into a new home or selling a new home or having to renovate or make changes to the new home. There could be conflict around that. It could be, like related to the actual physical dwelling itself. So of course, because it's a general reading, there's so many of you watching, the specifics and details are always going to vary in any general reading, but the energy fundamentally remains the same. It's this energy. So next we have the Four of Swords with the Eight of Wands in reverse. So swords and wands. Swords is air energy, so it's about thoughts, ideas, belief systems, and how that affects the way that we communicate our words and our ideas. And it's mental, cerebral, intellectual energy. The energy of swords usually manifests in how we look at things and our belief systems, which of course directly affect how we see the world, the people in the world, relate and communicate as well. The Four of Swords is a card of temporary withdrawal, kind of rest and respite, and it's actually right next, the next set of cards that it's next to, it's right next to the Hanging Man, which is also a card of taking a step back and not engaging in conflict. The Four of Swords, very similar energy. You can see that this man who's a soldier, he's a knight. He's girded for battle. You can see these three swords pointing down at him, and his own laying close by his hands should he need it. But for the time being, he's not engaged in any conflict. There's always a sense of that it's a temporary kind of withdrawal, because you may be feeling tired, worn out, exhausted, overwhelmed, but the fact that he may be going back into it or dealing with it again because he's still wearing his armor. So rest, respite, restoration. It could be that you're feeling, you know, because of this conflict, you may just be feeling, it's kind of like this sense of, I'm just tired of the same old argument going on and on and on over and over again. And there's a sense of withdrawing maybe around the second week or so. And typically when I pull these cards, I usually do for the beginning of the month, it's, you know, it's 8 cards plus the 9th crowning card, 2 cards for each week. Time, as I say, always being fluid. For the mid-months, it's just, you know, 4 cards with a 5th crowning card. And usually I try and look at it as going week by week, but I feel, Gemini, that all of these together just is kind of its overall energy. I don't feel like it really separates too much into specific weeks here. It's just this petty squabbling that has something to do with home or family. Not huge Tower card energy, but it feels like you're just tired of it. Perhaps you and your partner are tired of it. There's a sense of wanting and needing to, if you haven't, needing to kind of step back a bit from this conflict, particularly in regards to communication or verbal arguing, because the Four of Swords is clarified and accompanied by the Eight of Wands in the reverse. In the upright position, something just popped up on my screen. In the upright position, it's a card that indicates usually positive communication, very powerful communication, sometimes waiting, because you can see the wands have left their point of origin, but they haven't quite reached their destination. But it's typically powerful, impactful, profound, positive communication, good news even sometimes. But instead of information being delivered, it's more about an exchange of information, conversation, which in the day we live in can be anything from phone to email, text, etc. So in the reverse, it can represent perhaps negative or difficult or conflictive communication, communication difficulties, or no communication at all. But because it's clarifying that Four of Swords, which is a card of withdrawing temporarily from conflict, especially looking at the rest of the cards surrounding it, I really feel like for those of you who are still kind of actively involved in this conflict, or it's an ongoing sort of thing, the advice here is to kind of pull back and, as much as possible, try and create a space for yourself, or try not to engage or be part of whatever this argumentative energy is, and really be careful about your communication. And honestly, for some of you, I feel like this combination of cards is just, there's almost a sense of weariness. It's like, I'm just tired of talking about this, I'm tired of arguing about this, I don't want to do it anymore, particularly around the second week to the middle of May 2018. And it's also, I'm feeling cautionary advice too on, you know, you may just want to call a timeout, take kind of a break from whatever this is, because it looks like you're tired, maybe other people are just kind of tired of it as well. So next to that is kind of similar energy. I'm getting to that for some of you for whom some of you this conflict is about maybe a decision or a choice somebody in your family has made, whether it's a partner or a young person, a child or an adult child or a relative, maybe a decision or a choice that they've made. It could be that has something to do with leaving home or maybe even returning home, and that you're not liking that decision, and the argument is based on that. What I'm getting is that this is something you should kind of take a step back and not engage in at this point. Like you've made your point already. So next we have two major arcana cards, the Hanging Man and the High Priestess. Really strong advice here. The Hanging Man is very similar to the Four of Swords, but stronger energy because it's major arcana card, so energies of God, spirit, your angels, and guides. The Hanging Man is a card also of taking a step back, withdrawing from conflict, and watching and letting things play out without putting yourself in the middle or trying to influence or manipulate or maneuver or force a certain outcome or a certain resolution, which is what the Hanging Man represents. And it can also represent, you know, that taking this step back may not meet with outside approval. You know, the Hanging Man in most tarot decks, he's depicted as seen as being hanging upside down in what appears to be an awkward or uncomfortable position. You know, he's hanging upside down, but he's not really struggling. This is a card that represents kind of taking a step back and accepting the situation the way it is, understanding that it is temporary, and watching how things play out without trying to put yourself in the middle of it and force or manipulate or maneuver an outcome, not being actively involved in this, and being at peace with that for the time being and letting things play out. It can also represent that taking this step back or making a decision not to get involved may appear to be, you know, unorthodox or unusual to other people, but that is the advice nonetheless. And that advice is underscored, Gemini, by the clarifying and accompanying card of the High Priestess. This is a card fundamentally of following your intuition. It's a card of deep spirituality, and it has similar energy to the Hanging Man too. The Hanging Man, he's withdrawn back, he's hanging upside down, he's watching things, he's letting them play out, he's seeing how they play out without interacting, without getting involved. The High Priestess has a similar sort of energy and nature. She often doesn't speak a lot, but she's very observant. She's, you know, spiritually attuned and connected. And that kind of spiritual, reaching that kind of spiritual connection requires a lot of time for you to, in a lot of situations, for you to step back and just kind of watch how things play out, not be part of the chatter, not be part of the conflict, and taking it all in, sometimes not speaking very much, because when she does speak about what she feels or thinks or observes, because she doesn't speak all that often, it's usually something that's very profound and people typically listen to her. So it's also can be a card of just watching, observing kind of things, seeing how things play out, and following your intuition, which is your connection to the divine. You know, you can also call it gut instinct, your higher self. When the High Priestess comes up too, it's always a good idea to listen to your intuition, to pay attention to any flashes of insight you get, pay attention to any dreams you may be having during the month of May, maybe, and not being so quick to kind of involve yourself or jump right into an argument or a conversation. Just kind of observing, watching, and kind of going where you feel led to go. So, and some of you, if some of you are still kind of involved in whatever this conflictive energy is, you may be feeling this sense, this intuitive sense already. You know, maybe people are asking you, or somebody is asking you to take their side, or, you know, have an active part in this, but the message is quite strong for you not to do that, particularly in terms of communicating and really watching your communication. Keep it at a minimum in regards to this conflict over the month of May, and pay attention if you feel like you need to say something. Keep it to a minimum and really make sure before you do that it's an intuitive, that what you're feeling like you need to do or say is because of an intuitive sense that you have about that. But overall, the advice is very strong that, you know, it's not a month to be really actively involved in whatever this has to do with. Now, at or towards the end of the month, and also, Gemini, it just feels kind of wearing on you. You know, there's this sense, again, of weariness that I'm getting of, I don't think for the time being there's a clear resolution, at least during the majority of the month, that needs to be initiated by you. And particularly if this conflict is with other people and it doesn't involve you directly, but because it's your home, your family system, whether it's immediate or extended, you may feel the desire to kind of jump in and be the peacemaker, try and resolve things. It doesn't look like that's going to be your job this month, at least for the majority of the month. So at or towards the end of the month, we have the Six of Swords, followed by the Ten of Wands. Again, another kind of underscoring of this. The Six of Swords is a card of again, peace, restoration, healing. It can be a card of actual physical movement or traveling too, maybe over water. It could be maybe actually getting away for a time from the source of whatever this conflict is. Some of you, it may be, you know, leaving home or leaving a home situation or leaving family, or somebody actually that you're close to that fits that description, leaving as well. I like this energy at the end of the month though, because even though it looks like this has been kind of exhausting and irritating and exasperating, I think withdrawing and not being actively involved is the right thing to do, and kind of it may be even at the end of the month that you need to get away, or that you make the decision to get away. Or that whatever the source of the conflict is, the situation or the person actually ends up transitioning out. And again, it looks like a burden it's coming to an end, and it's time for it to come to an end, which is what the Six of Swords represents. It's not a fast card, but it is a card of steady movement. And it's a card of leaving this conflict or this chaos behind you, because that's what this woman is doing. That's why she's leaving. If you could see the water behind the boat, it would be turbulent, choppy, and wavy, but she's sailing away from it, or he is sailing away from it into waters that are smooth and peaceful and placid and serene. It's a card of getting back into harmony and balance. It's transitional, meaning she's not quite to the other shore and on solid ground yet, but it's definitely a card about moving away from whatever the source of this conflict is, and healing from it as well. And for some of you, that may include you know, a physical moving away, or even just getting away for a time, because it's time for this burden to come to an end. And some of you, this burden too, it could be, I feel like for some of you there's a financial link there. Maybe you've been paying for something for quite some time. I'm getting to that. Some of you, it's something to do with maybe adult children. Maybe you've been paying for a child or someone to go through college, or helping kind of offset their expenses, and maybe they've made a decision to drop out before they're done, and you're looking at that maybe as money wasted or time wasted, and that's been the source of the conflict. That feels very specific to a handful of people out there. But regardless of the specifics and details, it looks like it's definitely coming. The coming to an end process is there at the end of May 2018. It looks like it's a process that's still going to continue to play out, but there is healing and a settling down of this conflict, because it looks like it's been, you know, a bit of a burden. We have another 10 here, so 2 of 10s, the 10 of Cups and the 10 of Wands. You know, this is about carrying a heavy burden, or something that maybe has started out as not a burden, but over time has become very heavy and maybe troublesome, or something you've been investing in for a long time, and it's just time for it to come to an end, which is what this 10 represents, the end of a cycle, the end of a burden, a cross you've had to bear, a burden, or the source of whatever this conflictive situation is, so that things can get back to normal, so to speak, or get to a place that where there's more peace, more quiet. And again, it's a process. And for some of you, the process may not be this healing process may not feel significant, or that it's not beginning until the end of May, because it feels like it's going to be playing out for a while, but in a positive way, in terms of getting better and better as time goes on. And again, that advice is very strong. Step back from the conflict. Don't try and involve yourself in the conflict or force an outcome. And be very careful about your communication during the month of May 2018 as well. If at all possible, try not to be engaged in or the source of conflictive verbal communication, conversations, and argument. And your overall crowning energy for the month of May, the same advice is echoed in Strength, which is a card about facing your fears, your doubts, your insecurities, wrestling with your demons, so to speak, which it takes a great deal of strength and courage and humility to do. And it's also what you gain by moving through this process, facing what you're afraid of, moving through it, and the insight and clarity and wisdom that you get by doing that. and again, I'm getting like somebody leaving home, or you leaving home, or something kind of coming to an end, and somebody's making a fresh start, and there's conflict around that, or you may be afraid of it. You may be the one leaving, or somebody else may be leaving, or making a choice and decision that you don't like because you have fears about it. But it's about kind of facing those fears, stepping back and allowing this to happen, allowing this to play out to the best of your ability. So it looks like an interesting month and a growth and an evolvement kind of month, Gemini. Not hugely negative. It looks like there's some challenges in this month. And again, I feel like fundamentally the base underneath this for home and family is there's still a sense of love and stability. I mean, which is what, those of us with family, or who have family, whether we were living with them or extended family, that just happens from time to time. And this just looks like one of those months. But it looks kind of wearisome, and so try not to get involved in it as much as possible. Watch your communication and pay attention to your intuition, your flashes of insight too. It looks like the healing and the kind of evening out, quieting down of this argument is going to continue. If part of this conflict or argumentative energy has to do with you're being afraid of how something's going to play out, just face that and allow it to kind of play out. So Gemini, that pretty much wraps up your May 2018 general reading. I hope you have enjoyed it, or at least found it, useful. Maybe it gave you some insight and clarification, or it helped validate what you were already thinking and feeling. So thank you very much for watching it. Again, if any of you are interested in a personal one-on-one reading with me, you can get more information, my contact details, by going to my YouTube channel's homepage, clicking on the About button, or just looking at the description bar of all the videos that I post. Email me directly at Maggie1McGuire@gmail.com. I would be most happy to work with you and set up a reading with you as quickly as possible. And for fast answers to the quick, easy questions, you can also find me on the smartphone app Instantgo. So Gemini, I will see you all again in a couple of weeks for the May 2018 mid-month readings. And until then, as always, I wish you joy, peace, blessings, and a happy life. Take care, Gemini, and I hope to see you back here again soon. Bye-bye.